We've had massive protests just yesterday here in Australia over this decision. Does it surprise you, the international interest in America's abortion fight? Because we don't have this sort of scrutiny of, say, France or Spain, where really you can only get abortion in the first trimester. And in some US states, you can get abortion right up late into the pregnancy, even into the third trimester if you've got a doctor's endorsement.
Well, it doesn't surprise me that there's a lot of interest because, like I mentioned earlier, the U.S. is a major funder of international aid and also a major funder of, the UN and just a very influential country around the world and has been for a long time. We've seen reports of people celebrating in sub-Saharan Africa as well. And so, there's obviously a lot of people with their eye on this for one way or the other. Certainly, I think, there's a lot of attention to the U.S., especially at this moment, because what the people who are trying to claim there is a human right to abortion have been saying for a long time is that, look at these countries in Latin America who have all been liberalizing their laws, as if there's this sort of inexorable march of history that is only going in one direction. And what the U.S. is showing, and certainly other countries too, like Poland, for example, is that indeed this is not the case and that there are countries willing to take a stand for the unborn.
Just finally, Rebecca, we've seen companies, sort of woke corporations, Rita was just talking about them in terms of, pronouns and so on, but we've seen woke corporations in the States now offering to pay their employees to go to a different state if they happen to be in a state where abortion is more difficult. Companies are saying, oh, we'll finance your abortion or we'll finance travelling you to wherever. Yet this is also opening up all sorts of legal dilemmas, isn't it?
Well, certainly it is. I mean, there's legal questions on all different levels now that the issue has really gone back to the state level. But I have to say, with regard to these corporations, it seems like there's a cynical angle here as well, that certainly they're more than happy to pay for you to have an abortion, but are they willing to pay for you to have a child and to have some leave and, to support you through that as far as the medical costs and the insurance? So it seems like they might have other motivations as well.
Rita?
Rebecca, I know you feel strongly about this, but the majority of Americans, around 60%, are pro-choice for first trimester. The polling on this has been quite clear over a number of years. Most Americans are against second trimester and third trimester abortions, but surely someone who's fallen pregnant or even worse has been the victim of, say, a rape, should be able to end the pregnancy in that first trimester without fearing that they're breaking a law. Is that a balance that can be reached in those states that seem to be on the verge of changing their laws?
Well, I think we have to think about the question of why would one be pro-life at all, and the question of when does life begin and when does a person become a person? And that really is a deep philosophical question that certainly there are differences of opinion on, but it seems that if conception is not when life begins and when a person becomes a person, there's no clear point along the way where you could say that takes place. Otherwise, it seems very arbitrary. Certainly we will see whether there are gestational limits. Sorry.
Well, people do seem to make that determination. I mean, I know there's people who've got a religious belief that life begins at conception, but a lot of people who are pro-choice are against late-term abortion. So there does seem to be a point in a pregnancy where it goes from people change their minds and think it's no longer acceptable to terminate a healthy child. So I do worry about particularly young people finding themselves in a situation where they're going to have to become criminals, even if they opt to have. Is there going to be abortion pills or other methods available, do you think, in those states that are going to dramatically change their abortion laws?
Well, I guess I would say two things quickly. One is that, if you can imagine a world where abortion is unthinkable and where when people become pregnant, no matter their circumstances, we surround them with support and we have a strong message that there's hope enough for both of them. I think that's the ethos that we in the pro-life movement have long been hoping for, not mere criminalization. But as far as the question of pills, I mean, we've certainly seen this looking at the international sphere. Certainly in Latin America, there's been, a great deal of sort of black market abortion pills. We've seen, a lot of people disseminating them sort of in ways that, skirt the law or flat out illegal. And we are already seeing that in the United States. There are groups overseas that will mail abortion pills to women in the United States. And of course, this opens up other concerns too of women being given these pills, for example, by, say a boyfriend, a husband, a father, an abuser of some kind. And we've seen cases both in the U.S. and elsewhere that have been prosecuted. So when you take it away from the medical establishment, there's other risks that come in as well.
Rebecca Oas, thanks so much for talking to us here on Outsiders. Fascinating, and thanks for your insights there from America. Thank you so much.